Al, are you ready for some puns?
I'm always ready for
Well,
puns.
good thing we're going to get some puns this episode.
Yes.
The big theme about this episode is all about you and I,
Nice.
and also you and I. And you and I. Welcome to this week's episode of Jared and Al Watch Nijigasaki High School Idol Club. It is episode number 4. I'm Jared, joined as always by Doc Al and Ladium.
Hello.
And we are discussing season 1, episode number 4. It's called The Uncharted Path. It's where they play Uncharted.
Ugh.
And Shizuku got real into it.
I could see that actually.
I watched a video recently where they were talking, like, this was the Niji girls talking about, like, oh, we should find games to play together. And they're all talking just, like, regular games. And then Kaori just, like raises her hand, like, can we play some FPSs? Everyone's just like, huh?
Wow.
It's real good.
That's funny.
Unfortunately, that's not here today. But we begin this week's episode by flashing back to a cool performance last week.
Yep.
And we see I and Rena in the crowd, and I is just captivated, as we said last week, as we thought she would be. She's like, oh my gosh, this is cool.
She's basically having her you moment with Setsuna.
Yes. Everyone just has their Setsuna moment.
Yeah. I mean, there's not as much fire this time in her vision, but
But she's like,
that's
wow,
basically
this is
the compliment.
awesome. Everyone around me is like all into this. This is cool. Yay. Then we cut to the idol club. They're cleaning the idol room because they've been able to, I guess, retake it. They booted the club that was in there out and just took over again.
Maybe they got a different room?
Oh, maybe. I think they were in a different location.
Yeah, because this door was like flat on a wall and the other one was like in a corner area.
Yeah, I guess. So what club did they boot out of this room then?
Maybe it was an empty club room.
I don't know. Like the whole thing about Nijigasaki is that, like, it's a high school where there's like a billion clubs, and they have that just like huge wing that's just full of club rooms. So I would imagine like they're pretty full up. And also, if this wasn't a problem earlier, Kasumi could have just found another room and not have been mad that they didn't have a room in like episode 2.
Well, I think she couldn't because of student council president, right? Because she took
But
the thing away
also,
from
it's
her.
Kasumi. She would have just squatted down in a room
That's fair.
if she
If she
found
could
an
get
empty
into
one.
it.
Yeah.
If she could get into it. That
But
might
yeah.
have been locked.
But yeah,
Anyway,
they have
they're
a
cleaning
new
it,
room.
so I'm assuming that it was empty.
That makes sense. I guess if it wasn't empty before, why would you be cleaning it?
Yeah.
It probably would have been just fine.
Yeah.
But yeah,
They're
they're
doing
cleaning
like
cleaning
gremlin cleaning races.
gremlin cleaning races.
They are. They're scrubbing the floor and
Mhm.
racing.
They're just getting everything all set up. They go outside and put the placard on the door to showcase this is the idol club room now. No one else is allowed in.
Did it lose all the Kasumi's
It
school
did.
idol?
It was just regular.
And just she like had to erase it. She's
So like, please take that off. So they're all just standing outside when they do that, and then I and Rena show up. And they're like, "Oh, hey, are you the idol club?" And they're like,
Can we join?
"Yes." Like, "Oh, we would like to join up with you guys." Yay! And then I sees IMU and you, and they're like, "Oh, you guys been able to join up. That's cool." And they're like, "Yay!" And I just like, "I want to join. I want to be cool idol." By the way, what do you guys do?
What do you do in this
So, like,
club?
I don't know. So we didn't even get a scene where Kasumi is hitting a whiteboard. And they talk about like, hey, what are we gonna do as a club?
Yeah.
We gotta figure that out. Eventually they come up with the idea like, why don't we? Or Kasumi's like, we gotta do some training, obviously, to if we want to do live shows and everything. Some of the group wants to do dancing. IMU brings up that she wants to practice singing and everything. So they're like, let's just split up into groups. We'll focus on our particular task that we want to do. And that way, we can cover all of our bases and do all that. So we cut to Kanata and Rena stretching.
Yep.
They can't stretch really well. Karen's there because Emma.
No, we've got Karen. Yeah.
Because Emma was there and Karen decided to help out. They're trying to like stretch them out, and they're just like, ugh. I cannot go that much further than just a sitting position. And then I is just like, hey, look at this. I can do this. Let me just fold my body in half.
Yep.
Contort myself.
With my legs straight out to the
They're
sides.
like, oh my God.
Which we were talking about it, that's actually a recreation of something that happened in one of the behind the scenes videos from one of the first Niji lives.
Mm-hmm.
That was a Mayu thing.
It's completely flat on the floor.
Yep.
So she's like, hey, just do this. All right, just breathe out as I'm pushing you forward, and then that'll help you stretch more. And she does it.
How fun.
They're able to stretch more, and they're like, whoa. And then Emma's like, thanks, Karen, for coming. And Karen's like, it's all right. I just want to help. I just want to help my friend. That's all. That's all.
It's all blushy.
She's real embarrassed. We go to Kasami's idol boot camp where it's Rina, and Shizuku, and she's like, all right, question time. What's it mean to be an idol? What do you got to do to connect with the fans? All this sort of stuff. And like Shizuku's like, I guess just do stuff. Correct. Rina's like, find a way to connect with fans. Correct. I was like, I have no idea. Correct.
Also correct. All of these answers are correct.
Kasumi is just like, yeah, it depends on who your fans are. Like, not everyone's going to have the same answer for this particular situation. What works for someone's not going to work for someone else. So you have to find out, like, what do you bring to the table as an idol, and how are you able to use that to connect with your fan base and everything.
Also, she stole Setsuna's glasses.
She stole Setsuna's glasses without permission.
Yep.
And they're like, I was like, oh, I didn't think it would be this deep, huh? Then we cut to just a recording studio in the school.
Wild.
Where Ayumi's practicing her singing and everything. And Ayumi's like, oh God, that was so bad. And they're like, no, it was great. You have a cute singing voice. It was fine. So it's Ayumi, you, Setsuna, I, and Rina who are here.
Was I there? Yes, she was.
Yeah.
Because she saw my anime.
So they're talking about that, and then they're like, oh, Setsuna, you should do a song next. And then I think like Rina says, like, she's like, oh, there's a song from an anime that's on here, and then Setsuna's like perks up. It's like, have you seen this?
They're going through like a karaoke song list.
Yes.
Type book. But yeah, she's like, so that anime, huh?
Have you caught up with it? Have you watched it? And she's like, and Rena's just like, yeah, I've done it. I've done this, all right. And she's like, oh my God, did you see episode 29 where this character did this and it was all this stuff happened? It was really cool. And Rena's like, yeah, that was real cool. And then in episode like 49, like this happened and all this, everything. And Rena's like, yeah, that was really nice and everything. And then like they're like, oh, I didn't know Setsuna was into anime this much. And Setsuna gets kind of embarrassed for things like, oh yeah, I like anime lives. Can't really watch it because my parents don't let me, so I have to like sneak around and do it and all this. So it's kind of hard, but like, yeah, I'm into it. And then I was like, all right, cool, let's sing anime songs.
Yep, anime intro time. Let's go.
Yay!
Yay!
So that was fun. I'm glad we got to see Setsuna's just goofy nerd side just come out immediately.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
So then after that, they go back to the club room and kind of like get everything packed up and ready to go for the day. Setsuna is like, hey, Kasumi, can you stay back so I can talk to you about something for real quick? And Kasumi's like, yeah, I already apologized about the glasses already. I didn't mean to. Setsuna's like, no, it's not about that. It's fine. So the rest of them go out and just like hang out on some benches while they wait for Setsuna and Kasumi to finish up their talk.
Hanata falls asleep on Emma.
Yep, Shizuku has to go to drama club practice after this, and they're like, wow, you have to balance some stuff, don't you? And Shizuku's like, yeah, but I really like doing both of these, so it's fine. And like I mentions like, oh, like she realized like how hard everyone's working and everything, and didn't realize like everything that this club would do, because like it's much different than a lot of the other clubs she participates with, because she helps with a lot of like the sports clubs, which are more team focused and everything. So she's coming at this at a very different angle than what she's normally used to. And they talk about kind of like how the group as a whole has has to come to a decision because like I think someone mentions like, oh, eventually you're all going to go on stage as a group and do a song, right? And they're like, eh. And then we cut to the Setsuna Kasumi conversation where they bring up the idea of solo idols, and that being the direction that the group should go in, because the last time, obviously, when they had the idol club and they tried to do the group stuff, it didn't work out. So Setsuna kind of brings up the idea of like, well, what if we just do solo stuff? That way we can kind of do whatever we want. We don't have to come into conflict with anyone else within the group. We don't have to like have this huge group dynamic of being on the same page as everyone else. And because we all have like different ideas and philosophies and ideologies about coming into what an idol is, that way we can focus all on that. You can do whatever you want, and you can be your own idol rather than having to like handicap yourself into being an idol that we have to be as a group, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
So they have that conversation, and back down with the rest of the girls, they also are kind of like have an idea that like this is this is what the conversation is going to be eventually. Like, are we going to be able to do solo idols? Is that a possibility? Is that something we're going to want to do, essentially? Because it is a much different performance. It's a much different mindset going into that, because obviously if you have a group and everything, you can rely on others if you're feeling down or something, or not having a good time or something like that. When you're a solo idol, you're out there by yourself, and it is you and just you out there in front of a bunch of people. And that can be a very daunting, a very intimidating just aspect of performance. So it's something they all have to kind of come to terms with and figure out if that's exactly what they want to do and whatnot.
One thing that I want to make sure that we mention is that I think it's really, really interesting and great, in my opinion, that Setsuna calls on Kasumi to talk about this, not you.
Yeah.
For one, it shows that she's like, all right, we initially had the clash, but like I respect you as a member of this club and as somebody who like really cares about idols. Like I want to have this conversation with you, Kasumi, not you. But it's good in my opinion because we're not having you drive everything.
Yeah. And like it makes sense because obviously, like you said, that these two had this clash and everything, but I think Setsuna can be able to see like now with how the group dynamic, or at least the club dynamic is at the moment, like something happened to Kasumi that made her change.
Yeah.
In between, like from the hiatus to now. So like I think she can see like obviously, the passion that Kasumi has for idols and everything would make her kind of want to single this out. But also because of that friction they had, like she is the one person that she needs to talk to about this, particularly because it would make sense that Kasumi would probably be going in this direction already to begin with. So like, why not just single her out and be like, hey, what if we do this as an idea?
Yeah. I just thought it was really a cool thing that this was not a like Setsuna and you moment again, that like it's not just you driving the direction of this club. It's
and I don't think it would make sense if it was a Setsuna you moment, because like
no, I wouldn't at all.
Yeah. So like it makes just total sense that like this has to be a Kasumi Setsuna moment, because like this obviously ties back to the original club and everything. So
right.
I completely agree with you on that. Anyways, so we fast forward to like the next day.
They're gonna go running at 9.
Well, this is like a school day, I think, and then like it's the next day afterwards that they go to do the running. But yeah, they make mention of like I think when they were just hanging out before, when Kasumi and Setsuna were meeting, like they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna go running Saturday like in the morning and everything. So just be ready if you're able to do that. And I think Ai's like, I might be a little late because I have other club stuff to do. So heads up on that. But yeah, we go to the next day, and then like we see Ai in her classroom just like thinking about everything that's going on, and just like realizing how like more difficult this has become. Not in terms of just like, oh, this is very strenuous and everything, but like just like the mindset and everything, and like everything that the idol club does and is just very different from what she's used to. Also, we see like her grades, and like they're great.
Yeah, she has fantastic grades,
which is canon, of course.
Yes, and she plays basketball.
She does some hoops for the Nijigasaki basketball team. She saw that guard on the other side of the court and was like, You know, they gave them MVP last game, and I was like, okay, all right, fine. That's where you want to be. That's where you want to be. I took it personally. This was just a perfect moment because obviously, our last SAC OVA episode was where we talked about the Last Dance documentary. So,
Yep.
what better way to have more basketball than by having it show up in Love Live again? Further proof, Love Live is a sports anime.
It's true. And I mean, like, this is an interesting element of this, and that you're thinking about like individualism in this club and like how does this work, and how do I better myself as an individual for the greater good of this club and that kind of thing. Like it's a sports anime.
Mm-hmm. It's also interesting because like they make mention that like I helps a lot of the sports clubs, but she talks about like most of them are all like team based and everything. But like I'd imagine there's obviously going to be some solo sports that are going to be clubs in the Nijigasaki high school because of how big it is and everything. So like it's interesting that like she doesn't really mention that or anything, or like I guess have really helped those kinds of clubs.
Yeah, maybe she just works exclusively with like team sports.
Yeah, that's completely a possibility. But yeah,
I
she
do like that they did the like minor slide in of like, look how good her grades are.
yeah, because obviously she has the the gal quote unquote look. So like that can come with its own preconceived notions of like, oh, she's a dummy and all this sort of stuff and all these stereotypes. But like, no, she's real smart.
No, she's real smart.
But yeah, she's basically having a hard time or like trying to like kind of come to grasp with everything that's the idol club's been doing and everything, and also with the solo idol stuff kind of being pushed on top of that as well. Like just trying to figure out like what's the best path forward for her specifically and everyone else essentially as well.
You might say it's an uncharted path for her.
Oh.
Ah!
But yeah, so she goes through that school day and is just like real trying to figure things out. Then the next, or I guess if we get to the weekend, I don't know if it's the next day or not. She wakes up at like 7 a.m. and it's like, okay, I'm gonna go run.
She's like, I'm about 2 hours early for
Whatever,
this
I'm
whole
just gonna run.
but like, time to run.
She runs for like an hour and then realizes she has another hour left. She's like, oh, okay, I guess I'll run some more. And then eventually she runs into Emma, and she's like, oh, did you wake up early as well? And Emma's like, yeah, I woke up early. Did you as well? It's like Emma, or I's like, yeah. And they're like kind of just talking about the solo stuff and everything. And then Emma unintentionally makes a pun.
Yep.
Which I don't even know if she really made a pun or if it was just I wanting to hear that she made a pun.
So that's the interesting thing about this is that like it is very hard to do puns in a language that's not your native language.
Correct.
And so I think that it was an unintentional pun that she made.
Mm-hmm. Because essentially Emma throws in the German word for no, right?
Yes.
Nine.
Yes. Yeah.
On top of her speaking Japanese. And then for us, that's all translated back into English. So it's a very just weird translation thing. Like, that's not easy. But yeah, no. She, I guess, I would assume unintentionally makes a pun. And I was like, oh my God, you made a pun. That was great.
And just loses it.
You said 9 and also 9. It's great. All right, I got to go. Bye. Like, that is hyped her up and everything. And then she's like, I think this solo thing could be doable. I could do this. It'd be fine.
Time to run more.
And let me do a cool jump like I'm the protagonist of the show.
Yep.
In the first episode.
Yep.
So she does all that, and then we cut to an eye performance.
Yep.
She performs.
Eye skirt.
Yes, she performs her new song "Psycho Heart," not like psycho as in like PSYCHO, but psycho as in the Japanese word psycho.
Yes.
As you would hear in a Saint Snow song.
Correct.
It's very much an eye song if you've heard any eye songs before.
Yep.
There's already things in there that are good for like crowd response noise and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And just a lot of her just like doing like fist pumps and everything.
Yeah, she's stoked. Her mecha going outfit is in there.
Yeah, so this one kind of follows the same idea that the IMU and Kasumi songs did, where they showcase some All Stars outfits and everything. So like her first single outfits in there. There's an SR card that's in there. And I think a few
Mhm.
UR cards as well. Outfits are in there. There's her casual outfits in there. Um, so basically just like all outfits you've seen if you've played All Stars and all that sort of stuff. Um, Eventually she just gets a crowd around her that are also hyped into the song.
Including two children who are like trying to mimic her arm
Yeah,
movements.
it's real good.
It's funny.
She finishes the song and like the crowd is very appreciative and excited for it, and she's like, "This is real cool. I could do this. Yay!" And then the rest of the girls are there as well, and they're like, maybe this whole thing isn't a bad idea after all.
They're just like looking at her from afar because I is like surrounded by a group of people.
Mm-hmm.
It's cute.
And that's basically the end of the episode. And then we have a post-credit saying where they're all just hanging out in the club room, and Emma sees something in the sky and gets very concerned. Essentially, there's one other thing I want to make mention before we wrap up because I forgot about it. But during the Kasumi Setsuna talk, when everyone else is outside, there is a moment where Emma talks to Rina, and she's like, "Are you having fun doing this?" And Rina's like, "Yeah." And Emma gets a little concerned for a second, and then Aisha like runs up and is like, "Oh, I haven't seen Rina this excited in so long. She's so happy about it." And Rina's like, "I have trouble expressing emotions." And Emma's like, "Oh, okay. Well, as long as you're having fun, that's great."
Yeah.
So like we kind of at least get like an explanation of like why Rina is the way she is.
Mm-hmm. But it's also great that we have who's like, oh man, I can interpret.
Mm-hmm.
I can interpret Rena for you guys.
Yeah. And then Emma's just like, okay, cool. I just want to make sure you weren't like real upset or anything, and just not feeling down or bad or about everything.
Which is also good. I mean, she didn't want her to just be doing it because her friend was doing it, and she once she had an explanation, she's like, oh, all right, cool, we're good. Like she didn't ask any more questions. She didn't really worry about it. She was like, oh, okay, that's who you are. Cool, done. So that was neat.
Yeah. But yeah, that is the end of this episode. Next time we will be discussing season 1, episode number 5. It's called Something I Can Only Do Right Now, and it looks to be an Emma focused episode.
Yes.
So we'll see how that's going to go. We'll probably see a little bit more of the fallout of them trying to figure out the solo idol stuff and everything. I don't know where this Emma episode is going to go.
I don't either.
So that's interesting. But yeah, still not
more puns at the end.
I just started throwing puns at you, and you was very into it.
I was like, yeah, she's always had like an infantile sense of humor, which I disagree. Puns are a very smart form of humor.
Pun
just
defender
saying.
Al has logged on.
Just saying, like you can't just. You have to think through puns.
It's true.
They're funny. Anyway, I love puns.
It's real good. But yeah, next week is an Emma episode. Going to be very curious to see where that's going to go. And what happens next? Because we're still not at full strength yet.
We're still missing Karen.
Karen, who just will just show up, I guess, randomly now.
Yep.
I'm assuming Karen's going to be involved in this episode because it's an Emma focused episode.
Right, and it's established that they're like best friends.
So it's gonna be. I'm real interested to see where this is going to go because I'm not exactly sure where they're going with this. Is the interesting thing? Because unlike the other episodes where it can be like, oh well, they're going like the I episode is going to be because she's probably going to join up and everything. The Setsuna episode is going to be because we're gonna learn about her identity and everything. Kasumi is Kasumi. She's a gremlin, and then this is like, are we going to learn about like? I guess maybe we learn about like her backstory and everything about how she's born and all that, and
that makes sense. But like, it's a struggle because Emma's already part of the club, so you don't have this big like joining up thing.
Yeah,
you just learn more about her. Hello, speaking of gremlins, you just put your crunchy eye booger on me.
What'd you gremlin?
Who else who has crunchy eye boogers?
Max.
No, he gets runny eye boogers. This is Loki.
Loki's like, here, I made a boog for you. Here you go. Anyways, that's going to do it for this week. If you would like more from us, go to seasonalanimecheckup.com or sac.cool. It's where you can find past episodes of this podcast and other podcasts like Season Anime Checkup and Season Anime Checkup OVA. You can also find columns and reviews on the site as well. If you'd like more from Anladium, go to anladium.com. She's got columns and reviews. Follow us on Twitter, twitter.com/animecheckup. Buy our book, One Shiny Moment, a critical analysis of Love Live Sunshine. Available now on amazon.com. Yeah, there you go. Next week, we will figure out what Emma can only do right now.